Okay, so now that we saw how to use the knot graph, the rest of the material are gonna be a bit quicker. So it's gonna be almost the same thing for the metal, the brass, the green patina and the glass. So here we're gonna focus on the metal. So I'm just gonna select all the patch. So pretty quickly I go into the UV mode here, select all of them from the first line. So that's why we organized our UVs like this. So it's pretty quick to select Control 1, and then on the orthographic view we only see our metallic pieces. So here they have the laser because the output here that we see is the laser texture. But let's start with the cloud. So all the time I start with a cloud to give the first variation, the first color variation. So we have the cloud. On top of that I put a tailable texture. This is the one. So this one is pretty detailed. So as you can see, it's gonna be pretty much the main texture on the metal. And then here we have a mask. So base color, tile texture, mask. So I proceed this way because I found this is the more efficient way to have complex texture pretty quickly. So here in the mask I just create a cloud, so the basic one, the basic cloud. So as you can see here, and then the manifold 3D is just a node that allow you to transform the cloud depending of the position. So for example, if you wanna scale it, if you want to rotate it or anything, just create a manifold 3D and then you have a full control of your cloud. I think you can do the same with the cloud extended here. So that's the same cloud than this one, but with some transformation available here. But I use the old way, so a cloud with a manifold. So I'm gonna disconnect this one here. Let's take a look at this cloud. And then with the manifold connected into the position, I've got this mask. So this one is just to remove some information from that tileable texture in order to make it a bit lighter. So let's see the result here. And now as you can see, we don't have only the full tileable texture visible everywhere, but we have some area where we don't have any information. So this will help to break up the texture. After that I use the triplanar projection. So the triplanar projection is just a node. If I double click here, with 3 different slots for texture. So you have a front projection, the top projection, and then the right projection. So this node will allow you to project the texture from different camera angle. So this is the triplanar projection. So on this one I used a texture that I made myself. So this is the one. So this is just a texture with some color variation and some detail on it. So let's take a look. So here is the texture. So it's just pretty simple texture with some color, using a triplanar to avoid the themes that we can have because of the UVs. And then here we have a tailable texture that looks like this. It's almost like a cloud, but with a different shape. Like as you can see here, this is not blurry, this is a bit more detailed. So I like this texture to break up the texture that we have into the over. Then I create a level just to make it a bit more brighter, and then I use it as a mask to mask my triplanar projection. So oops, So this is the result here. So as you can see, I add very subtle color into my texture, and it's already pretty interesting and pretty detailed. So we can stop here, but I like to continue working on my texture, make them a bit more complex, interesting. So after that, I just create a level, just because my texture were a bit too bright. So in my level here, as you can see, I just make them a bit darker. So let's see what we did after that. Okay, so after that I create a dust texture. So let's take a look. So we just have a cloud with subtle variation, HSV to control probably the saturation. So double click, yeah, so I reduce the saturation and the value a bit. Into that I put a triplanar protection with the same texture than before, this one. So just to add some variation into my cloud. So now we have this result here. On top of that, I use a tileable texture. So this one here, so with some very detailed texture combined with a cloud, just to remove some area like this, and then all of this combined together will give me that result, and this is my dust texture. So the end of that graph is connected to a radio transmitter just to store the texture somewhere, and that I can call in the future. Then I did a mask, as you can see here, so starting with the black constant. So the black constant is just a black color applied to the object. I call the occlusion with the radio node. So here is our ambient occlusion baked at the beginning of this tutorial. So as you can see, the occlusion is pretty clean, and it took me maybe around 5 minutes to bake it using the object ambient occlusion. So maybe I forgot to say into the previous chapter, but the more polygon you will have, the better will be the result. Like, more polygons means more quality in your occlusion. So yeah, I use the occlusion here with the invert, just to invert the value, because this is a dust, so I want the dust into those area here. Then histogram scan, just to grade it a bit. And then on top of that, I use tile texture. So which texture did I use? Okay, this is the same than the dust here, so just to create some variation. The set range, just to raise the value. So the set range is just a node. So my black was to 0 and my white was to 1. I raised the white to 2.5. So as you can see, the tile texture looks like this, and with the set range I just increase the value, the white value. So on top of that, so we have this tile texture. I use the radio node into an histogram scan just to mask it. So here is the result. So as you can see now, we have some very subtle value into the mask, and this is gonna be the mask for the dust. So I store my dust mask here with the radio transmitter, double click, radio transmitter, and then I use all of this little graph as a mask for the dust. So the dust texture is here. Previously we had this, and then so the metal texture with dust combined and with the mask, we've got this result. So now, as you can see, we have a good amount of dust into our binoculars. So here it's pretty heavy and probably too much, but we have the laser piece on top of that, so we will not see the texture here. So as you can see here we have the laser, so don't worry about that, it's okay. Let's continue here. So here we have the smudge. So for the smudge I use triplanar projection with a smudge texture. So double click on the triplanar, so you just have to select the texture. So here's the one that I used. So this is just smudge texture. Drag and drop this into the slot here that I level it, and then put it on top here like this. So this is my smudge, and then I will mask it with a cloud. And a drizzled, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce this. So this thing here, this node, will just very contrast our node. So this is the cloud before, and this is the drizzle. So this guy will clamp our value in black or white. As you can see, there is no transition between the black and white, but if you double click on it, you have some parameters, so you can clamp more the black or more the white area, and then with the edge here you can add a bit of variation in between the black and the white. So if you put the edge to 1, you will have the same result than the cloud. So makes no sense to create a drizzle and have the same value than the cloud. So here I have my cloud, I create that node here, and then I use it as a mask for the smudge, and then I will have the smudge not everywhere on my texture but only on some part. And this is the end of my metal texture. At the end, the bake point. So when the bake point is red, means that you change something before. So for example, if you bake it and then change, for example, the amount of the smudge here, then the bake point will become red. So that means red, this information stored inside the bake point is different than the information that we have at the end of this graph. So double click on bake point and bake it. Okay, so the bake point is done, so the node become green. So here we have a quick feedback of our texture. So as you can see, there is no lag. You can zoom in, zoom out pretty quickly. After that, I just create a level to make my texture a bit darker, so like this. So makes a bit no sense, but as you know, the metal has almost no diffuse, but we can still provide some value into the diffuse, because at the end we're gonna export texture, and in LookDev they're gonna use our texture. So if they have black, or if they have some information, for me it's better to have some information into the diffuse, so I prefer to make it with some variation rather than to provide just a black texture. So then, as you can see here, our graph looks like this. So let's just focus on diffuse. So we have our laser texture, the first node. So here is our binocular. Then we texture the laser with the bake point. We combine the laser and the first node using the mask. And we're gonna do the same with the metal. So we have our metal texture here, combine into a merge here. And I will use that mask here to separate the metal from the laser. And if we go into the UV, as you can see here, that's just a white texture. So what I like to do when I've got proper UVs is just to create a node, so a paint node like this, but I don't need a good resolution for that. I just need, like for example here I use a 512 texture, so 512 by 512 texture, because that's just a white and black texture. I don't need any information inside. So this will optimize your scene at the end. And here is the result. So this line is our metal and here is the laser. So let's have a look. So this is our current texture. So as you can see, we have some dust, we have some variation, and it's already look like the reference. So let me bring the reference here. Okay. Here we go. Here is the reference. So as you can see, this is the one that we're gonna try to match, not as much as this, because I don't wanna do the same laser. As you can imagine, this one is just a laser with a very coat on top, sorry. So this is our main reference, but otherwise then I'm gonna try to do a different laser. So maybe that kind of laser here with the same color than this one. I really like the painted metal with the brass here that we can see. Here we can see some green color, so this is coming from the green patina. So we have a good blend of different material, and I found this object pretty interesting. So we've done with the metal texture. So now we're gonna have a look on the next video on the brass and the green patina.